A Navy SEAL and his loyal K-9 were patrolling the snowy backlet on Christmas Eve when the dog froze. Ears raised, sensing something fragile in the cold. Hook. Imagine finding a tiny girl, alone, digging through trash on the coldest night of the year. What would you do? Behind a dumpster, a little 6-year-old girl knelt in the snow, fingers purple, picking at frozen scraps as if it were her last hope. Her coat was torn, her breath shaking, her eyes dim with hunger no child should ever know. What the SEAL and his dog did next would melt the coldest hearts and prove that sometimes the bravest rescues happen far from the battlefield. Hook. But the truth she revealed? It shook his soul to the core. Keep watching to find out why. A bitter Christmas wind cut through the narrow backlit behind a Denver apartment block, carrying snow like broken glass across the frozen ground. Luke Carter walked slowly through the dimly lit path, his boots sinking into thin ice. At 36, Luke had the kind of presence that came from years of command. Broad-shouldered, clean-shaven except for short stubble. His jaw set firm, making strangers think he was a soldier or a man who'd survived something hard. Both were true. His dark hair, clipped short in a military cut, still neat, though a few gray strands had started. His eyes, once bright, now carried a deep tiredness that only grief could create. Beside him trotted Ranger, his loyal partner, even after retirement. Ranger was a 5-year-old German shepherd with thick fur dusted white by snow. His posture alert but gentle, ears turning at every sound. Ranger had served on many missions with Luke, including the winter operation overseas that earned medals but cost Luke the chance to be at his wife's deathbed. Since then, the dog was more than a partner. He was Luke's last bit of purpose. Luke usually spent Christmas Eve avoiding memories, the smell of hospital halls, the image of Sarah under cold lights, and the quiet apology in a doctor's voice. Sarah had been slender with warm skin, dark curls framing soft brown eyes. Even during treatment, she tried to smile to keep the world gentle for Luke. He had not made it back in time. That failure cut into him like frostbite. Silent, deep, permanent. Ranger's sudden stop pulled him from memory. The dog stiffened, head low, tail straight, body ready with that sharp alertness he never lost even after leaving the teams. "What is it, boy?" Luke whispered, scanning the shadows. Ranger stepped forward, nose up, then turned sharp toward the dumpsters against the brick wall. The wind howled, rattling metal lids, hiding whatever sound Ranger heard. Luke followed carefully and froze. A small figure crouched behind the largest dumpster, digging through a torn trash bag. Snow clung to her tangled dark hair like crystals. She was no more than 6. Tiny, thin, wrapped in a purple jacket so worn it was barely clothing. Her fingers red, shaking as she picked frozen food scraps. Ranger whimpered softly, ears back. Luke's chest tightened. Hey there," he said gently, voice low like approaching a scared bird. The girl jumped up, wide brown eyes full of fear. She clutched half a frozen sandwich like treasure. "It's okay," Luke said, raising both hands slow. "I'm not here to hurt you." Her lips shook. She looked ready to run. Luke knelt to seem smaller, letting Ranger step close enough to show his gentle side. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. A long pause. Then, barely heard, "Emma." "Emma," Luke repeated softly. "That's a beautiful name." He saw her cheeks thin from hunger, the jacket ripped at the sleeve, shoes too big, soaked with slush. Something twisted inside him. He had seen hungry children overseas, but never this close to home. Never on Christmas Eve. "Where are your parents, Emma?" he asked carefully. The question broke her. Tears came fast. "My mama died," she whispered. "In a car accident." She wiped her face, leaving dirt on her cheek. "And my dad drank all the time. Then he married her." "Who's her?" "Victoria," Emma whispered. "She works for a real estate group. Silver Horizon." Luke's instincts sharpened at the name. He'd heard of the company. Flashy ads, eco-resorts, rumors underneath. Emma went on, voice shaking. "She told me to sign papers. Gave them to my dad. She said the house had to be sold, but it was my mama's house. I said no. She got mad. She said I was dangerous. Emma swallowed hard. She called people, told them not to take me. They think I'm with my dad, but he doesn't want me. Every word cut the cold air. Luke felt an old protective fire stir, one he thought died with Sarah. How long have you been out here? He asked. Emma paused. 2 days. Luke closed his eyes a moment. 2 days in this cold alone. He stood and held out a hand. Emma, come with me. It's warm where I live. You'll be safe. She stared at his hand, scared, desperate, torn. Then Ranger stepped forward and pressed his head gently against her knee. That broke her fear. She put her tiny hand in Luke's gloved one. Okay, she whispered. He lifted her carefully into his arms, shielding her from the wind. Let's get you home, Luke murmured. And for the first time in years, the word home didn't feel empty. The hallway outside Luke Carter's apartment was dim and quiet. Only the soft tap of Ranger's claws on the floor. Luke shifted Emma gently in his arms. She had fallen asleep on the short walk from the parking lot, exhaustion taking her. Her weight was light, too light for her age, and Luke felt a twist in his chest as he unlocked his door. The apartment was simple, a living room with an old sofa, a small kitchen with outdated cabinets, and walls without photos or color. Everything showed the minimal life of a man avoiding anything like home. The only personal items were a folded American flag on a shelf, a shadow box with medals, and a framed photo of Sarah turned face down. Luke didn't turn the photo up. Not yet. He set Emma carefully on the sofa. Ranger sniffed her gently, then curled at her feet like first guard. Luke got a blanket, one of the few soft things he owned, and covered her small frame. Only when he saw her relax did he breathe out. Something about how she slept, curled tight as if ready to be pulled awake, made him see how long she had been surviving, not living. He stepped back but stayed close. He sat on a chair nearby, elbows on knees, watching her breathe. The ache in his chest grew, pulling up memories he'd buried for years. Sarah. Her name changed the air. Sarah had been the opposite of this cold apartment, warm, bright, patient. Tall and slender, dark curls bouncing when she laughed, a smile that came before words. Her beauty was quiet, like sunlight settling in a room. Even in her last months, pale and thin, she had a strength that humbled everyone. Luke rubbed his jaw, feeling the stubble. He remembered pacing snow overseas during Operation Winter Veil, a mission too critical to leave, praying to reach home before Sarah's final breath. He hadn't. The guilt followed him like a shadow. Tonight, holding Emma, he felt the same helpless anger rising, knowing innocence always paid the most. A soft whimper pulled him back. Emma stirred, twisting under the blanket, hands and fists. Her breathing quickened. Then a muffled cry. No, don't. I didn't do anything. Luke moved fast, kneeling beside the sofa. Emma, he whispered, hand gentle on her shoulder. Hey, you're safe. It's okay. Her eyes opened wide with fear until they found him and Ranger. The dog's head rested beside her, warm and steady. Emma's body relaxed slowly. I didn't mean to fall asleep, she whispered. You needed it, Luke said. No one should be out in the cold that long. She swallowed but didn't argue. Luke stood. Come on, let's get you cleaned up. He ran a bath in the small bathroom, steam fogging the mirror. Emma hesitated in the doorway, clutching her torn jacket. Luke didn't push. He crouched to her eyes. You're safe here. No one's coming to take you away tonight. Her lip trembled. Then she nodded. While Emma bathed, Luke heated tomato soup and made grilled cheese, the smell filling the kitchen with rare warmth. He found his smallest clothes and folded them. On the counter, his phone buzzed. It was Mason Lee, his old friend, now a child welfare lawyer. Mason was in his early 40s, compact build, neat hair, calm voice from years in court. He had always been steady under pressure, shaped by growing up the eldest in a big family where duty came early. Luke answered quietly. Mason, I need help. You never call at midnight unless it's serious, Mason said. Talk to me. Luke told the story. Emma's mother, the forced signatures, the stepmother's lies, Center's refusing her thinking she was with her father. A long pause. Luke, this is bad. Very bad. If the papers were faked, the system thinks she's accounted for. You taking her home could be seen as, I'm not leaving her outside, Luke said sharp. Mason sighed. I didn't say you should. We need to do this right. I'll file for emergency guardianship in the morning, but be ready. They'll check you too. Trauma screenings, background, home visits. Luke glanced at his bare apartment. I'll do whatever I need. I figured, Mason said softly. Call me at 8. We'll start. Luke hung up as the bathroom door opened. Emma stepped out in his oversized shirt and sweatpants tied tight. Her hair damp and combed, showing the soft round face hidden under dirt and fear. She looked younger, more fragile. Ranger nudged her hand, tail wagging slow. Emma smiled, small but real. Luke gave her a warm bowl of soup. She sat at the table, eating slow, eyes flicking to him as if he might vanish. When she finished, Luke made a bed on the sofa with clean blankets. She lay down, Ranger curling protectively. Luke, she whispered as he turned off the lamp. Yeah? Thank you for not leaving me outside. He swallowed hard. You're welcome, Emma. Sleep. For the first time in a long time, Luke didn't feel the crushing silence. As he watched Emma drift to gentler sleep, he felt something warm at the edges of his grief, the start of healing. And he knew tomorrow the fight truly began. The winter sun rose late the next morning, pale light slipping through blinds, painting stripes across the living room. Emma still slept on the sofa, curled under a blanket with Ranger pressed like a shield. Luke stood in the doorway a moment, taking in her small, fragile breathing. It had been a long time since his home held peace. He moved quietly to the kitchen to brew coffee, its smell grounding him for the battle ahead. At 8 sharp, he called Mason. The lawyer sounded tired, likely up late with case law, but steady. I've filed for emergency guardianship, Mason said. But Luke, something feels off. A real estate company doesn't push a 6-year-old into the cold unless there's more. Luke breathed slow. Emma mentioned Silver Horizon. Heard of them? Only rumors, Mason replied. They buy fast, claim eco-projects, leave half-built shells. But no proof of crime. Not yet, Luke muttered, eyes on Emma. But I know how ops like this work, Mason. You always saw the angles others missed. When Emma woke, she sat up slow, rubbing eyes. Her hair a soft tangle, she blinked at the light as if expecting cold and danger. Is it really morning? She whispered. Yes, Luke said gently. And you're staying here until we fix this. Ranger hopped up and nudged her cheek. Emma smiled faint, petting his head. The moment was small, but Luke saw trust flicker in her eyes. After breakfast, Luke sat with Emma at the table. Emma, he said softly, tell me more about your house by the lake. Emma stiffened, clutching her cocoa mug. Her voice shook. It was Mama's house. She said it would always be ours. After she died, Victoria took all the papers. She told Dad the house needed to be transferred right. But Mama kept the real papers somewhere Victoria didn't know, in the attic behind the Christmas light boxes. Luke leaned in. You sure? Emma nodded. Mama said something stays safe until you're older. I think she meant those papers. Luke felt the truth settle heavy. This wasn't just mistreatment. This was a setup. He stood and grabbed his phone. There was one man he trusted for this. Ethan Morales picked up on the third ring. Ethan had served with Luke nearly 8 years. Tall, sharp-billed, brown skin, short black hair, trimmed beard. Dark eyes quick, always thinking, even when calm. After special ops, Ethan joined financial crimes. He had the same drive Luke remembered, shaped by a tough childhood where corruption was daily. Look! Ethan's voice gruff but warm. Been a while. I need your brain on something, Luke said. Silver Horizon Group. A long breath. Yeah, I've heard whispers. What's this about? Luke explained everything. Emma, forged signatures, forced transfer, the company. Ethan listened without cutting in. When Luke finished, Ethan's tone turned sharp, professional. You're not imagining it. We've tracked money linked to Silver Horizon. Shell companies, offshore accounts, logistics tied to trafficking routes. Nothing solid yet, but your story fits. Luke's shoulders tensed. Can you check the Pinehurst property records? I can, Ethan said. Send what you have. And Luke, if that girl's mother hid real documents, they might be the key. After hanging up, Luke turned to Emma. She sat quiet, hands in lap. Luke, she asked, are you mad at me for telling so much? He knelt beside her. Emma, you did nothing wrong. You're helping stop people who hurt others. That takes courage. Emma's chin trembled. Mama always said being brave means telling the truth, even when it hurts. Ranger rested his head on her knee, feeling her worry. Emma stroked his fur, finding calm in his warmth. Luke stood pacing. The apartment felt small, a temporary shelter, not a fix. If Silver Horizon laundered money through property, Emma's house might be a link powerful people wanted gone. Mason called back an hour later. Luke, I checked the digital transfer of the Pinehurst property. Inconsistencies. Pages scanned at different qualities. Signatures layered like copied from elsewhere. It looks rushed. Amateur, but dangerous. Luke closed his eyes. That's what I feared. You're not going there alone, Mason warned. I won't, Luke said. Emma knows the house. She knows where the papers are. Silence on the line. You're taking the girl? Luke glanced at Emma, watching with fragile hope. She's the only one who can find what we need. Mason paused. Luke, be careful. This isn't just custody. This is a criminal web. I know, Luke said. He hung up and found Emma pale but determined. We have to go to the house, don't we? She whispered. Luke nodded slow. Yes, but safely. Ranger and I will protect you. Emma took a shaky breath but didn't look away. She was scared, but not alone. Luke finally turned Sarah's photo face up on the shelf. His wife's soft brown eyes seemed to watch, full of the quiet strength he admired. I'm doing my best, he murmured. Then he gathered gear, checked the weather, and prepared for Pinehurst. The drive to Pinehurst Lake took nearly 2 hours, winding mountain roads covered in fresh snow. Pines stood tall and silent, dark against the pale sky. Emma sat in the back wrapped in a thick blanket, hands gripping tight. Ranger lay across the seat, head on her knee to calm her. Luke kept eyes on the road, jaw tight under his calm. Returning to Emma's house felt like entering enemy ground. It woke his old tactical sense. The cold Colorado air felt sharper, as if the land knew they neared where innocence broke. When they arrived, the house by the lake was nothing like the warm home Emma described. The old Victorian, wooden porch, steep roof, peeling paint, stood alone in snow, windows dark. Only a new security panel and fresh tire tracks showed recent visits. Luke crouched beside Emma before moving. Stay between me and Ranger. No noise unless I say. You remember the way in? Emma nodded, breath misting. The old coal hatch behind the shed. Mama used it when the front door froze one winter. Good girl, Luke whispered, impressed by her memory and steadiness despite fear. The coal hatch was half buried in snow. Luke brushed it clear, revealing rusted hinges. He pulled gently, then harder, until it groaned open. Cold musty air rose, dust, old wood, forgotten years. Ranger slipped in first, moving silent in the dark. Luke followed, lowering Emma after. They were in a cramped cellar with stone walls and old bins. The house creaked above, wood settling under winter. Up here, Emma whispered, pointing to narrow stairs. They climbed to the main floor. The living room was too tidy. Victoria must have erased traces of Emma's mother. Floral curtains gone, replaced with gray. Family photos missing, but the silence felt fake, secrets in the walls. Emma led to the attic. The door creaked when Luke pushed. Inside, dust floated in light from a small window. Old trunks, Christmas decorations, boxes stacked neat. Emma hurried to the far corner. There, she whispered, pointing behind a chest of tangled lights. Luke moved the box, revealing a wooden panel. It slid, not nailed. Behind was a small metal case, cold, heavy, locked with a simple clasp. Inside were original property deeds, handwritten ledgers, and a USB drive marked Pinehurst Personal. Luke flipped through papers. Some official with seals. Others notes with dates, amounts, initials matching suspicious transfers Ethan mentioned. Then Ranger's ears shot up. The dog growled low. Warning, not attack. Luke froze. He heard it too. Tires on snow. Car door slam. Two voices. One sharp female, one slurred male. Victoria and Mark. Luke snapped to command. We move now. He guided Emma down the ladder as the front door opened below. Victoria's heels clicked sharp on wood. Mark muttered about more signatures. Footsteps louder. Luke slipped through a side hall to the back door, but Victoria's voice came close. You better pray that girl hasn't said anything. Silver Horizon won't tolerate loose ends. Emma flinched. Ranger growled again, but Luke tapped his side quiet. The back door stuck from cold. Luke forced it open silent enough, ushered Emma out, closed it. They hurried across the snowy yard into the trees just as a porch light came on. Only deep in the woods did Emma let out a trembling breath. Luke scared. He knelt in snow, lifted her chin gentle. You were brave. Braver than most men I know. Ranger pressed against her for warmth. They returned to the truck under tree cover. Once inside, Luke called Mason and Ethan. Mason answered first, tense. You got it? Everything, Luke said. More than we hoped. Then get home, Mason urged. Ethan and I will push this through federal channels. This might be bigger than us. Within 48 hours it was. Once Ethan got the files, he matched them to investigations. The evidence exposed Silver Horizon's operation. Money laundering, shell companies, cash tied to drugs and weapons trafficking. It sparked a multi-agency task force. Warrants issued, homes raided, accounts frozen. Victoria Hale, always sharp, dressed perfect, calculating, was led from her office in handcuffs. Mark Whitfield was arrested the same afternoon, face gray with shock, charged not just for fraud but for neglecting and endangering his daughter. When the news broke, Luke watched Emma's face shift. Fear, disbelief, then fragile relief. She didn't smile yet, but her shoulders eased and she rested her head on Ranger. For the first time, she looked safe. And Luke knew this was just the start of the fight for her. Snow drifted soft outside the family courthouse, floating past tall windows like pale feathers. The building quiet, almost reverent, knowing decisions inside changed lives. Luke Carter paced the hallway, hands behind back, shoulders tense under his charcoal suit. He looked different today, less soldier, more father, trying not to let hope grow too big. Ranger lay at his feet in a simple blue therapy vest Mason got for him. The dog's coat shone under lights, amber eyes following Emma. Emma sat on a bench, legs dangling, wearing a sky-blue dress Luke bought for the hearing, dark hair in a neat braid. She held Ranger's leash tight, like an anchor. Mason Lee arrived with papers under arm. Crisp navy tie, pressed shirt, calm focus. He greeted Luke with a nod, then knelt to Emma. You ready, kiddo? He asked gentle. Emma nodded, voice shaky. Will they make me go back? Mason glanced at Luke. Not if you tell the truth and with the evidence we have. His tone steady, just what a scared child needed. The courtroom doors opened and they were called in. Judge Marion Baxter, early 50s, sat tall behind the bench. Stern but fair, silver hair in a tight bun, glasses, steady gaze from years seeing through lies. Her voice strong but not cruel. Good morning, she began. We are here to review the petition for adoption by Mr. Luke Carter for minor Emma Whitfield. Emma squeezed the leash. Luke put a steady hand on her shoulder. Across the room sat Mark Whitfield, escorted by officers. He looked defeated, shoulders down, eyes red, beard messy. Orange jumpsuit clashed with the suits he once wore under Victoria's control. Now stripped bare, he seemed small, worn by addiction and consequences. Judge Baxter reviewed files, turning pages slow. I've read social services reports, psychological evaluations, statements from investigators Morales and Lee. She looked at Luke. Mr. Carter, approach. Luke stepped forward. Under her gaze, he stood tall, military habit, but softened by something gentle. Mr. Carter, the judge said, your record is remarkable. Special operations, commendations, silent discharge, but also past trauma. Yet everything here shows you've taken steps to heal and build a stable home for Emma. Anything to say before the child speaks? Luke's voice steady, low. Only that I will do whatever it takes to protect her. She's become family. His sincerity warmed the room. The judge nodded. Thank you. Emma, please come here. Emma approached timid, Ranger pacing perfect beside her. Judge Baxter smiled gentle. Emma, I understand you want to say something. Emma took a shaky breath. Eyes moved from judge to Ranger to Luke, who nodded encouragement. Your Honor, Emma began, soft but clear. Luke didn't have to stop that night, but he did. He didn't have to give me food or let me sleep on his couch, but he did. She paused, fighting emotion. He stayed when everyone else walked away. He listens when I'm scared. He never yells, and he keeps promises. He didn't choose me because he had to. He chose me because he wanted to. Ranger leaned into her side, feeling her shake. Emma wiped her eyes. I want him to be my real dad forever. Not until someone changes their mind. I want to be Emma Carter. Silence filled the room. Judge Baxter folded hands. Thank you, Emma. You may sit. Emma returned to Luke, who crouched and brushed a tear from her cheek. She burrowed into his side, Ranger protective beside them. Judge Baxter breathed deep. Given evidence of neglect, fraud, and endangerment, the court terminates parental rights of Mark Whitfield. Mark closed eyes, shoulders falling. The judge continued. The petition for adoption is granted. Effective immediately, Emma Whitfield is now legally Emma Carter. Luke closed eyes as relief washed through him. Emma threw arms around his neck, whispering, We did it! Ranger barked once, proud and bright, drawing soft laughs. Months later, Pinehurst Lake felt like a new world. The old Victorian house, once a hollow reminder of loss, now echoed with children's laughter. Fresh paint, repairs restored charm. Luke and Emma turned it into Pinehurst Haven, a center for homeless and displaced kids. Ranger thrived as therapy dog. Gentle, intuitive. He comforted anxious children, napped beside those afraid to sleep, guardian to every scared newcomer. Emma blossomed too. School came easy when loved. Each evening before bed, she whispered to Luke, Christmas is the day I found my family. Luke pulled her close, gratitude softening his scars. He once thought purpose lived and died on battlefields. But watching Emma chase Ranger across the snowy yard, laughter rising like music, he understood deeper. This was his mission now. This was home. Sometimes the greatest miracles don't come wrapped in bright ribbons or golden light. Sometimes they come quietly, like a little girl shivering beside a dumpster, or a weary man who thought his purpose died on a battlefield, or a loyal K-9 who sensed a soul in need before anyone else. The story reminds us that grace often works through ordinary people, nudging them to stop, to look closer, to reach out when the world expects them to walk away. Luke didn't just save Emma. Emma saved him too. And that is the kind of miracle heaven loves most. When broken hearts heal each other. In our everyday lives, we pass countless chances to be someone's blessing. A word, a gesture, a moment of kindness that can change a life. Maybe you felt that nudge before. Maybe you're feeling it now. If this story moved your heart, please share it so someone else might find hope too. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what this story made you feel. And if you believe in compassion, courage, and the miracles planted in unexpected places, please subscribe to join our growing family of storytellers and believers. May you be blessed, protected, guided, and may light fill every dark corner of your life. And may a miracle come just when you need it most. Thank you for being here.